This is Carolina Week.
Overdose deaths increased by 22% according to a new report from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Here to tell us more about the report and show how to respond to an opioid overdose is CW reporter Kelly Kendall.
Hi, Cassia. Yeah, the findings from this report are pretty concerning. Now, today, here with me in the studio is Tessa Busher and Kurti Patel. They have joined us here today in the studio to show us how to respond to a medical emergency involving opioids.
Guys, here's the big picture. Students value transparency, accessibility, and a commitment to diversity and inclusion from their student body president. Take a listen.
I'll love to see somebody who's...
Welcome back to Carolina Week. Yesterday, the North Carolina Senate voted 36-10 to legalize medical marijuana. The bill will be voted on again today before moving to the House, where it failed to pass last year. If it passes the House, it goes to Governor Cooper's desk, where it's expected to be signed into law. It's time to have a chat about ChatGPT, the AI chat box that generates human-like responses based on user input. But how can the technology impact students? CW reporter Sarah Choi has more. Well, Ashna, at least ChatGPT can't host a news broadcast.
At least for now.
And students chained themselves to the steps of South Building in the name of accessibility after a student was stuck in her on-campus residence for 32 hours.
Next on Carolina Week.
You might have seen our very own Armando Bacot if you binged this new season of Outer Banks this weekend. Bacot makes a cameo in episode 8 of season 3, right around the 14-minute mark. During his few minutes of fame, he plays the role of a bodyguard named Mondo and has one line, money.
Students aren't the only ones getting lost and found.
That's right, Ashna. After a wild social media chase in Orange County, a lost pig was captured. So we know UNC has long been nicknamed the University of National Champions, but it's not just for athletics anymore. UNC junior Stephanie Pearson appeared on the show Jeopardy last week for a high school reunion tournament. Oh, absolutely. Let's toss it over to CW meteorologist Corey Kowitz to check in on this recent heat. Corey?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. The heat is going to stay, and that's why I thought I'd be wearing a little pink today.
Oh, yeah, and it's a really great way to reduce my carbon footprint. And in fact, Chapel Hill now has its own secondhand bazaar. The latest on the Parents' Bill of Rights and how that might impact LGBTQ students.
And why one UNC doctor chose to sue the state over abortion restrictions.
Plus, a pig on the run in Orange County. All this and more next on Carolina Week.
Welcome back to First Move. Italian motorcycle manufacturer Ducati accelerating through 2022 with record-breaking sales. Revenues for the first 6 months jumped 5% to more than $550 million. That's its best first-half results ever. CNN's Jonathan Hawkins spoke to their CEO.
19th of July, this July, was 10 years after VW took over Ducati. And I just made kind of some reflection on that, because it's 10 years kind of a period. 2021 has been the best ever year for the company. We sold almost 60,000 bikes, very rock solid financials. 2022 we have a lot of really disruption, but we are doing good. Disruption in the supply chain. It's very difficult to get the components, so we're fighting to get another rate of real. And actually we are really seeing the benefit of these last 10 years of continuous investment. I think it's a very interesting combination now, because it's this kind of very solid, also German backup, and this forefront, very Italian, very passionate, very with a lot of attention to design, beauty, and in the middle technology. So it's a nice mix. Yeah, the biggest challenge is kind of that the whole system, in which actually, to assemble a motorcycle you need 1,500 different components, and then you send plans to supplier, and there are long time plan, like you see 1 year. And so you plan the supplier and you say, how many of these components you want next month, how many you want in 3 months, how many you want in 6 months. And normally, in normal life, suppliers organize themselves. They buy the machine, they prepare, they build the capacity, hire the people, they buy raw material, and they do the job. And then 15 days before you need a component, the component arrive at the gate. And then you put in warehouse, and 2 days before you take from warehouse and you put on the assembly line. And then you assemble the motorcycle. Actually, that has kind of exploded almost. So I would say 50% of the supplier in the last 1.5 years, they are not anymore able to guarantee that actually deliver on time.
Let's state the obvious. Gas prices are insanely high right now. And what's maybe worse, they're expected to stay that way. The last time we saw record gas prices was in the summer of 2008. Those records stood for almost 14 years, until March. Since then, records have been shattered over and over again. There are many reasons for this. The first is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia is one of the largest oil exporters on the planet. Now, very little of its oil went to the US in 2001, but oil, like other commodities, is traded on global markets, not just a US-based market.
The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine is causing a significant supply shock. It is having a significant negative effect on growth, and it is pushing up inflation higher and for longer.
The problem is some of Russia's biggest customers, most notably in Europe, are banning Russian oil. And although Russia is still finding buyers for its crude at a discount, the country is having a harder time selling its petroleum products. In short, the loss of Russian energy impacts prices around the world, no matter where it's used. The second reason is that COVID lockdowns in China are easing. China's zero-COVID policy, especially in Shanghai, helped depress energy prices earlier this year. But those restrictions are now being lifted, driving up demand as people in China travel, shop, and dine out more. And finally, reason number 3. Supply of oil has been slow to recover since the COVID crash. Demand for oil plummeted when the world plunged into pandemic lockdowns in 2020. As a result, the United States, OPEC, Russia, and other suppliers slashed production at a record pace. Those barrels have come back online, but only gradually. And in the meantime, the world is chipping away at its buffer of oil inventories, a phenomenon that is unnerving investors. Even as oil supply returns, production of gasoline has lagged behind. That's in large part because the US doesn't have enough refineries that produce gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel. No new refineries have been built in America in nearly half a century. As the classic economic rule goes, a surge in demand of something in low supply will almost always mean a rise in prices. But where's this all headed? Many experts warn gas prices will stay high and perhaps go even higher until supply and demand come into balance. And if you're hoping for help from the government, President Biden has conceded that there's very little he can do to bring down the cost of gasoline. If you're looking to save on gas, the only thing to do right now is to try to use less of it. Of course, for many, that's not really possible. I'm Cassia Sari, and this is CNN. The Consumer Price Index report released today might not be the bright light some economists claim it to be. Sure, gas prices and airfares continue falling, but food and rent prices haven't quite turned that corner yet. Core inflation growth still climbed 0.3%, which is down from 0.7% growth in June. But inflation is still abnormally high, and energy and gas prices are volatile, as we've well learned this year. Some premium food groups might be feeling the impact of consumer hesitancy. For example, Sweetgreen charges $15 for a salad. Although their second quarter financial results revealed a 45% year-over-year growth, the company announced they laid off 5% of its center workforce and plans to downsize to a smaller office building to lower operating expenses. And shares in the company fell more than 25% in after-hours trading following the earnings report. Amid a broader market rally, the stock was down about 4% this morning. Is it possible that a $15 salad doesn't satisfy an inflationary appetite? Well, I can think of a consumer market that deserves to splurge on premium salads. The English women's soccer team shattered records in the Women's Euro final in July. The championship game became the most watched program of any kind in the United Kingdom so far this year. Nearly 35% of the UK's entire population tuned in. Wembley Stadium drew more attendees than any other European Championship game, men's or women's, ever. Across the river, women's soccer continues to shatter the glass ceiling. A star-studded ownership and player roster debuted the one-of-a-kind professional women's soccer team, Angel City FC. The team launched in 2020 under Academy Award-winning actor and activist Natalie Portman. They played their first game in March of this year. The investor list sounds more like an invite list for the Met Gala. Christina Aguilera, Jessica Chastain, America Ferrera, Jennifer Garner, Eva Longoria, and sports icons Candace Parker, Mia Hamm, and Abby Wambach are all on the list of owners. Alexis Ohanian, the husband of tennis champ Serena Williams, is the lead founding investor of the team. Last week, his daughter Olympia unveiled her footy skills on the field in a clip shared to the 4-year-old's Instagram page. Angel City already has more season ticket holders than its male counterpart in the MLS, 5-time champion LA Galaxy. The Angels rank 7th in the NWSL, having lost as many times as they've won this season. Orlando Pride most recently hosted the Angels for the first time on Sunday, and the Angels play their first ever international friendly game against Tigres UANL Femenil from Monterrey, Mexico. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for tuning into CNN. I'm Cassia Sari.